I think it'll be better this way, or is it a double echo? Hello. I think maybe I'm gonna.
I can't hear you. Something's wrong. I can't hear you. You're muted, Rob.
How about now?
You're good now. Coming in.
But it sounded like it might have echoed. So hold on. I'm gonna have to do this. Let me see if I can take this down. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you good.
All right, good. So I had to turn. I'm doing an experiment to see if there's ways that I can do audio and maybe music that'll clear. And I haven't figured exactly how that's going to go yet. So I'm just playing around while I'm waiting for some stuff to transfer. But it's good to see your face. You should. Oh man, that's why I was unsure, because you haven't done it before. And I thought, maybe he did it by accident. So I'm not popping him on until he says, yeah. So I can't believe anyone would call you a heathen. Look at you look so sweet, Daniel. Come on. You look sweet. There's no one that could call. I guess you were having a problem in a chat room yesterday where people were putting you down or something. Maybe I misunderstood. Is it that delayed? You know what you have to do? Get off the video and just listen to the StreamYard feed.
We got a feedback or something.
I think you got to take down. See, this is good. This is an experiment for you, so we can figure it out. Once you're in StreamYard, you should be listening to just me through there. Don't watch the regular show. So click off YouTube and just deal with this.
Okay, let me see if I can get on YouTube. Let me see. I'm gonna have to click out of here.
Yeah, if there's a YouTube video going, just shut it off.
Let me leave this. Yeah.
I'll know you're here as long as I see you. The minute if you click off, don't click off the StreamYard video. Just click off the YouTube video. Now, you know that the kind of trouble I'm going to show this again. Kind of trouble I'm going to get for, I said to the guys, I go, what is with the crosses that you put into this? Because there are people that hate the Halloween thing as it is, that are on the Christian side, and then they're going to see these crosses and they're going to go even crazier. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, they're crosses in the graveyard. And I said, well, I guess that's true. So, some more fodder for the people that hate me. Hey, Sister Sunshine, how are you? I'm just, I'm waiting for some stuff to transfer. Was talking about a trunk or treat that we got going where you could win Rams tickets, Sister Sunshine, Rams tickets. And that's enough to make me, Halloween is Satan's holiday, says Sister Sunshine. I'd like to channel the Buddhist Sister Sunshine here if we could, the one that was around about 8 months ago. I forget how long it was. And then we can have a cordial conversation, I think, maybe. Or I'll have to give her one of these. Watch this, Daniel. Man, I'm going to really like that once I figure this all out. I added this cool thing. Are you ready? I don't know if Sister Sunshine saw this. Let's see if she's still around. Oh, Rams, boo. Rams were like sort of in your neck of the woods for a while. My goodness. But watch this. You ready? This one's going to be real cool, Dan. You got to watch the screen. As soon as I can make it look better, I didn't spend a lot of time. I just wanted to see if I could do it. It's going to come from the bottom. Ready? I'm drinking a cup of coffee. And it'll pop back down for us. Hey, what do you think? Now you're mute. But I know you can hear me. I know Sister Sunshine can hear me because she's laughing. She's stealing that. I'll have to send it to you. What you have to do is you make and the limitations on it I'm finding are like I can't do everything that I want because I can, but it's going to require some time because I think it only takes a 20-second video or under 30 seconds. Sister Sunshine, there's a link up above Sister Sunshine. So I can't do like I wanted to play one of my music videos or something going before I was prepared to go live or just to like introduce it. And I uploaded a video and they said it was too long. So, oh, Sister Sunshine says Raider Nation for life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. You a football fan, Daniel?
Not really.
All right. Not football.
Well,
either. I hear myself talking through your headphones. So you're like behind. You can hear me two ways. You got to cut. No, you can use it, but that's better. But I mean, you have to actually close.
Link up above Sunshine, so I can't do like I want.
Now I can hear you. Now I hear you
videos or something
from your screen.
I prepared to go live to like introduce it.
can you hear me
I
now?
uploaded a video and they said it was too long.
Can you hear
So
me now?
Sunshine is Raider Nation for life.
Can you hear me
We're
now?
gonna get
Gosh.
Can you hear me now?
You a football fan, Daniel?
I can. I'm going to remove you for a sec. I can hear you, Daniel, but then I'm hearing myself. So the screen that you have to be on is StreamYard by itself. StreamYard, you can hear the audio live. If you're listening to the audio from YouTube or Facebook, it is going to be delayed, and that's what's happening. So I could hear you talking, but then I heard myself talking about 30 seconds ago. So we'll pop you back in. But back to Raider Nation for life. I can't deal with the Raiders. Tell you what else I can't deal with, and then we'll call this. Oh, that's the wrong one. We'll call this Coffee Talk with Rob, and it's heavily in the news right now. Sister Sunshine might like this. And I'll wait for you, Daniel. Once I see you with your headphones back on, then I know we're safe. But the transsexual stuff with the 7-year-old kid, I'm sure that Sister Sunshine has seen that. You're not backstage, I don't think, Sister Sunshine, unless something's going wrong. Yeah, I see you about to put your headphones back on there, Daniel. We'll figure it out. I can't hear you because you're out of the thing. I know. See, clean up around your coffee guy. I tried, and I could not get it. And I have a pretty good program for it, but somehow it only takes the PNG files, not the GIF files. As far as I can tell, the GIF files that I was creating, the transparency didn't appear to be working with StreamYard, but the transparency worked with ping, so the PNG. Yeah, so it's a really sad story, and I wanted to look at both sides of that. And maybe I'll do this more seriously a little bit later. But the 7-year-old kid, he was on Steven Crowder. They showed a clip, and the father, who's trying to challenge, for those that don't know, is trying to challenge the mother, that they're both separated by all appearances, maybe divorced, and it was really acrimonious. They obviously really don't like each other, and to make matters worse, she is wanting the mother to put her 7-year-old boy onto puberty blockers, which could make effectively the child infertile at 7 years old. There's no plus to it other than a child who may have gender dysphoria, but we don't know for sure, who simply said that he liked a superhero who was a woman and he wanted to dress as that superhero for Halloween. This is how I understand it. The mother's interpreting that as he wants to be a girl. And what was worse was the father did a video of the kid. I'm going to pop you back on, Daniel. The father did a video of the kid that he asked the kid, he said, well, who told you you're a girl? He says, Mommy. He didn't say, like, I feel like I'm a girl. And then he said, well, why do you want to be a girl? And he's like, I like girls. And that was weird, too. When you have a boy saying that he likes girls, it doesn't mean that he wants to be a girl.
No.
So that's the difficulty there. It's pretty problematic. So hopefully, now I know I can't hear myself now, Daniel. Can you hear me live?
Yeah, I can hear
right
you.
now? All right, cool. And you're not hearing, so that you found the YouTube window and you chucked it? You X'd it out?
I think so. I mean, but I unplugged my mic and then I plugged it back up.
Yeah, your mic wasn't the problem. What happens is, and this is like you'll hear it sometimes when you hear a mirror of what somebody else is saying and it's delayed, it means like you'll hear it from me sometimes. If I pop into the video right now, and you may want to watch the video in order to see comments, but you can see comments on here. There's a comment option. But if you want to go to the video and see comments, which I do, you have to make sure that the video is paused on YouTube on the window that you have open, or you can just mute it. But it's better to be paused.
Yeah. I used to talk to I forget what the name of it is, but
no, it's all right. Did you hear that story about the kid? I was starting to say the story about the kid.
Yeah, wanting to be they misinterpreted him, and they thought he wanted to be a girl, which is sad.
Well, yeah, I don't think a 7-year-old can make that decision.
No.
You know,
that's ungodly, and God needs to get a hold of them people. And I pray that God would get a hold of them and change their way of thinking, and
yeah, we can hope. I mean, but see, the thing is that it exists. Sister Sunshine's in here, and I'm gonna take the other side because I did see an article, and let me bring her in. Hi, Sister Sunshine. Let me see if I can. I will do this cool, and then I'm gonna see if I can set up this little thing. Yeah, and then. While Sister Sunshine comes in and introduces herself, I'm gonna see if I can find the article that I was reading about a young lady of 4 years old, and I shouldn't even call her a lady, who appeared to have some legit gender dysphoria. How are you, Sister Sunshine?
I am doing good.
Pardon
me for still being in my pajamas, but
you're doing well.
Yeah, I was relaxing, and when you started talking about this poor little kid, I believe his name is James. I just got done watching an interview with his dad before his dad got hit with a gag order by the judge in Texas, and there's a lot to unpack. If you go to the website, I think it's called savejames.com or .org or something, he actually has the so many facts found by the court. You know, it's got a whole list of supposed statements of fact that the court has used in their decision-making process, that they use to deprive him of his parental rights and to allow the mother, right, to make this decision to chemically castrate her son. Now, obviously, this is going to work its way all the way through the appeals courts. I predict that it's going to go into the federal courts at some point. I don't know if Texas is part of the 9th District. If Texas is part of the 9th District, he's going to lose, and it's going to have to go farther because the 9th District Court is really, really, really liberal.
It's going to have to go to the 9th District for the mother, but I don't think the 9th District covers Texas. I'm like 100% positive of that. So the ultimate appeal is not going to go to the 9th District. It's going to have to go somewhere in the southern, whatever the number district of that is. And that's what surprised me the most, is the fact that this was a trial, and a Texas jury awarded the mother the ability to chemically castrate her 7-year-old son.
Yeah. And you know what? And there is so much in this whole story that, like I said, you're going to have to go through all the website and unpack it. There was a very detailed multi-page prenup between these two people, which is odd. Then she claimed fraud. So she somehow managed to get a 5-year marriage that has 2 kids annulled. Okay. So the marriage wasn't it's not a divorce. She actually sought and received an annulment. Those children are not actually biologically hers. She used a donor egg, so there was some kind of reproductive science involved in this. She has an accusation, which I don't know what the point of the accusation is that this guy's a homosexual, which he explains it that when he was in the military, he was a libertarian and was challenging the anti-homosexual dishonorable discharge system that used to be in place, pre-Obama. So much to unpack. But what I think is really frightening is if this woman, and she's supposedly a pediatrician, her mother was a gay activist. So there's all kinds of fingers in this pie. There's all kinds of agendas. And this poor little kid is basically, the lab rat, right? That's used to forward all these agendas and viewpoints of the really irresponsible adults surrounding him. Yeah. If she's allowed to chemically castrate him, what's going to happen is, yes, he will become infertile. That will affect his fertility for life.
I don't think it happens for sure in every instance.
I think but
it's a risk. It's definitely a risk. That's why I would say you should never do it to a child. And the argument, I guess, could go so far. The argument could go so far as circumcision, right? Like, is it fair for parents to force their male children to have circumcision without their permission?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, circumcision doesn't potentially affect fertility. Now, if you get a botched circumcision, it can affect the physical penis, right, of the child. Mm-hmm. So there is, honestly, there is some legitimate concern when it comes to the actual procedure. Who's doing it? Do they know what they're doing? There is a risk. But there's a risk with not doing it. There's a risk for increased risk for penile cancer, certain sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV. So there's stuff on the other side of that. Now, part of the issue with chemical castration is not just the child's fertility. You're talking about bone development. You're talking about his stature, what is his adult stature going to be? It will stop any growth of the penis. This is what happened to Jazz Jennings. Jazz Jennings is a very well-known television personality who is a boy whose mother raised him as a girl. He had his testosterone blocked. He had testosterone blocking medication, inserted, right? Well, what happened is when he went to actually have the surgery, there was not enough raw material there to work with because his male genitalia was actually the size of an infant's. It never grew. And when an adult makes a transition from being a male to a female in appearance, they actually take the penis, right? They don't actually remove it. What they do is they split it open, they remove the inside, but they maintain the urethra, they maintain some of the nerve endings, and then they turn it inside out to form a pseudo-vaginal passage. Well, if you don't have enough penile skin to do that, and you don't have the nerve development, etc., you can't become female in appearance. It's not possible. In Jazz Jennings' case, they actually had to then take part of this boy's colon and use the colon as a replacement for the non-existent tissue, right? Penile tissue. Yeah.
I didn't know they did the surgery on her, him, or however you want to.
On Jazz, yeah. Jazz Jennings really went through quite a bit.
I seen the video or the program there where she, he was talking to the doctor. The doctor was saying we have to give you some the male hormone, and what is
right, because they were going to try to get something to grow because it had been blocked. I mean, you're talking this child. Let's say you have a male child who's going to be maybe 6 feet tall, but if you block that testosterone in his system, he is never going to achieve his full adult height. He's never going to achieve the body mass, the musculature, the skeletal density. So these kids are not only at risk for impaired growth and other things, but what about their density of their skeleton? You know, you're setting them up for a lifetime of osteoporosis and bone fracture. The rate of cancer, when you have a person that goes one way or the other, whenever you start messing with hormones, the rate of cancer is significantly increased because of the hormone disruption. So we don't know. These kids are lab rats. This is going to be the first generation of children that are going to be subjected to this. I would say, you know, that we're getting into Mengele, Dr. Mengele territory. You know, we're doing things to them that we wouldn't allow to be done to prisoners. We wouldn't allow it to be done to animals. You know, yet these children, on basically the whim of a parent, mostly the mother, we see this happening. Now, I personally am extremely concerned that in about 5 to 10 years, we are going to see cases of little boys in particular that will have undergone this horrible treatment because of Munchausen's by proxy. For those that don't know, Munchausen's by proxy is a situation where someone, primarily it's the mothers, create illnesses in the children in order to get the attention, right, from doctors, from the community. It's a mental illness. What better way to induce illness in your child, but it be virtue signaling, right? You appear to be enlightened and so virtuous, than to turn your little boy into a girl. It's horrible. And
that's the sad thing about a child that wants to please their parents. So on the converse, though, there's, you know, because the video that the father showed said, you know, that he likes girls. It said that mommy told him that he was a girl. Now, it is very possible on the other side that maybe this kid legitimately has gender dysphoria, and he said all those things to please his father at the same time. So that's an option. But, you know, I looked at, I believe that it exists, you know, no matter, you know, whatever the religious discussion is about it. This is just a sample. Maybe we'll watch the video that I saw here, and maybe it's not as clear. Like, I'll tell you some details from the article after we watch it. Hopefully you can hear the volume. I'm gonna play it. Let's see what happens.
I believe it only exists because they put it out there.
Because what?
They put it out there, and
well, we could say it's the fall, but, you know, we have words in our language that apply to those people. You know, whether it's a wussy or, you know, there's worse of a man who acts like a woman. You know, we have the D word for women who are like men. You know, so it's existed as long as time has existed. Whether you say that it's because of the fall of Adam and Eve, whether you say that it's genetic, I don't think that if you watch this story, I don't think a 2-year-old to a 4-year-old knows enough to be able to make up his or her feelings. So let's watch this. This is from the Washington Post from 2012, and it's a little girl who thinks that she's a boy. And it's delaying because probably my internet's really bad. Yeah.
The earliest signs were him actually verbally telling us that, you know, I'm a boy. And when we sat down and went through children's books about the differences between boys and girls, he said, well, when did you change me?
I'm going to cut windows.
We had all the hand-me-downs from his sister and pink blankets and Tinkerbell in his bedroom and just very girly.
Darn it. I'm going to have to get a direct connection. I bet I'm lagging right now too. Am I lagging?
No, it's okay.
All right, good. What I'm going to do, so basically the long and short, you could see that this is, it looks by all appearances as a boy, but it's a biological girl, and who was named Catherine. She wanted pants and short hair, then trucks and swords. And the basic sum and substance of the story is the father was doing everything he could in order to say, worst case scenario, she's gay. or the reality scenario, she's gay. I say worse. I don't mean to be offensive with that. Is that, the idea of changing and chemically playing with a biological girl's hormones and those things before you would go so far as to do that. You want to make sure that there's a proper decision here. And I'm trying to be very sensitive to everybody, because this is going on Facebook too. That nonetheless, this, by all appearances, this young girl, she says to her doubting father in the car when there's a dispute between the mother and the father, and he's like, nah, more likely than not, just probably maybe a child who's recognizing sexuality very early and is confused. But she in the car, he's in the car with a 4-year-old Caitlin at the time, and she says, "Daddy, can I tell you a story?" And he goes, "All right." And she's pretending to read a story in a book. It's not the story that's in the book. And she says, "I'd like to tell you a story about the girl or the boy who's pretending to be a girl," or something like that. It was like clearly like a conflicting belief on this girl who, from as early as 2 years old, which means when she could express herself at 2, when language begins, she said, "I'm a boy." And the parents got real uneasy, and they thought that it was super weird. I'm paraphrasing as I go in here. And it became a constant theme for them in terms of clothing and swimming and what they were going to do, playing, everything. And everyone's kept trying to give her frilly dresses. Grandma was sending dresses, sparkly pink and pink swimsuits and all these things. And the kid just kept fighting it. And I'll read from the article. Catherine, the little girl, didn't even want to be around other little girls, let alone acknowledge that she was biologically one. The mother tried to put her daughter's behavior to rest. She sat down with a toddler version of an anatomy book and showed Catherine, then 3, the cartoonish drawings of a naked boy and girl. "See, you're a girl. You have girl parts. You've always been a girl." And the little girl looked up with a incomprehension, like she didn't get it. And she says to her mom, "Imagine if this happened to you." She says to her mom, "Well, when did you change me?" she asked. And then the questions begin, as it says. And so this girl is having some big problems that aren't being pushed upon her. Like this poor little boy, it appears that there's a substantial possibility, and this is James you're talking about, that mom has an agenda and is using her kid as an experiment based on something he said that any kid could say. There are many kids. I don't think any of my brothers, I didn't have this feeling, but I wouldn't be surprised. My son, for instance, he liked to watch, there was some kind of girl-based cartoon for a while. And a part of me was like, that's kind of weird. But I go, well, I don't want him to think that there's anything wrong with him wanting to watch a girl thing. So, okay, it was like Powder Puff Girls or something. Mm-hmm. He got into a Powder Puff phase. And we bought him. He wanted to get DVDs. This was right after the Thomas the Tank Engine thing. And I go, okay. And that just went over. But kids, they might, especially with the advent of Wonder Woman and the cool movies that have come out, I could see that a young boy would go, Wonder Woman's awesome. I'd love to beat her and fight bad guys. But I'm not about to chemically castrate my kid if that's what he wants to do. But in this particular instance, that's why I say I think there are real instances where there are kids that have real gender dysphoria. What do we call it? Mental illness? What do we call it? I don't think we should give these kids chemicals until they're 18 and they can make those decisions on themselves. But I think it's a real thing.
Well, see, and I actually think, though, that even in the case of this little girl that's being raised as a little boy, I see some issues. Number one, they're letting a child dictate to the parent, right? They've given the child way too much power, I would say. The power dynamic is way off because, you can have a little girl who's a tomboy. You can have a little girl that you don't have to dress girls, in pink sparkles, but they could still let her wear just, jeans and a t-shirt, let's say, something like that. You could tell her you can wear your hair short, but we're not shaving your head, because she may outgrow it later. I don't think you should reinforce any behavior in your child that's not socially or culturally advantageous, and by her acting this masculine at such a young age, it could almost lock her into that. And what happens if she changes her mind later, right? So kind of like the Desmond is Amazing. That child is another one, a drag kid that's being exploited by the mother greatly. When we start sexualizing children, when we start focusing too much on gender at an early age, that's an issue, and again, with this child, if she was vehemently, if she is indeed got some kind of issue where she is an actual transgender, that can be addressed later. But you don't let her shave her head, and you know what I mean? There's got to be a balance in there that you say, forward.
I put myself in the position of these parents, and it's a very difficult thing, I think, in the long run with raising a child. That I think this particular girl, I bring her up, Catherine, who now wants to be known as Tyler, and it's a 7-year-old article, so it'd be interesting to follow. I didn't look for any follow-up on this, but it was clear that this little girl, compared to James, that from the limited things that we know about James, and I haven't seen, more about him than I do, I just know the article, that this appears to be a real case of gender dysphoria. Where I have a problem is when we start to change the language. Like I don't have a problem, especially because a kid can grow out of it, and especially because they're young and you can always change schools or something. There's a lot of schools, but in the case of this young lady, if she changed her mind, I don't think that she's messed up. But if she doesn't change her mind, and I was the type of parent that was like, no, you're not going to do this, to say that there's something wrong with it. And again, I'm not talking about the religious aspect of this thing, because under that, I would agree with you, I'm sure. I'm talking about just from a psychological, secular standpoint. It's hard for me to get outside that now, but I lived majority of my life there, so I guess it's not the hardest thing for me to go back there. But I want to think about the psychological health of my child, and if to say that there's something wrong with what I view as the mental illness here, like there's something wrong with a child who legitimately has this feeling, and I put that in this child's head, I think that is more damage than, if the girl wants to shave her head and I ever shave a head and wear boys' clothes. I think it's more damage in the long run if I try and say, there's something wrong with that. Now, that being said, and then I'm sorry to dominate the conversation, I have a huge problem with the changing of definition. So I would say, if this was my daughter, I think my attitude towards her would be, particularly, I couldn't leave God out. I would say, God made you female. For whatever reason you're having these feelings, I love you no matter what your feelings are, and I'll support you. I want you to feel comfortable in your body, but know this, that there are two genders. There's male and female, and as you exist biologically, you are biologically a female because of XX chromosomes. You can't get behind that. You're going to, no matter how much of a boy you feel like you are, and this would be a more mature conversation with an older child, you're going to get your period. You're going to have monthlies. So you could, men, boys, they don't have to worry about that. You do. You feel like you're a woman or a man, a boy trapped in a girl's body. Well, okay, maybe that's the case, but all of the girl stuff is going to apply to you. And I don't want to mess with anything that's going to make you potentially unhealthy. And I think that's probably, so I don't mind where these parents were. I read the guy, I'll post a link to it. I read the dad's version of things and I thought, yeah, that sounds exactly like what I would do. But my main concern in the end would be the mental health of my child, but not at the expense of changing definitions, if that makes sense. Sounds like I went a little too far.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing, Daniel. I mean, you don't have any kids, right, Daniel?
Yeah, I have a daughter and 2 grandchildren.
Oh, really? God, you look so young to me, man. All right.
Well, I mean, you
Um,
know, I never would have put up with this with my children. I'm going to be quite frank.
Fine. That's fine. That's why it's a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have 3 children. I have 2 grandchildren, 2 grandsons, and admittedly, they were all very typical in their presentation, right, as far as their gender. But there were other things that they possibly, you know, like any little kid, right? Kids want to do or say or think many things. They're magical thinkers. You know, they're not concrete thinkers. They're very influenced by cartoons or you know, anything, right? So I find the rise in transgender kids all of a sudden quite suspicious, very suspicious. But you know, I have a daughter and two sons, and when they were growing up, we were very clear on what you know, their gender and how the genders should present themselves. And I just wouldn't have brooked any of this foolishness. You know, if one of my kids had said, no, I'm not wearing that. Well, you know what? Your kids are going to say that at times. When your kids become teenagers, they want to wear all kinds of things that you may not, you know what I mean? Whether it's very sexualized clothing, because that's popular among girls, among boys, you may run into the whole, you know, back when my kids were growing up, it was the gangbanger look, you know, that there are certain things that a parent says, no, you're not doing that. You know what I mean? You know, when you're 18 and you're out of my house and you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. But in my house, no, you're not doing that. And I think that's a parent's job, is to set limits. And what I see with a lot of these kids, the parents are not setting any limit. The kid is the one. And a kid, if they are not given limits, their life becomes unstable. And they, as a result, become unstable. They are depending on the parent at some point to say, yes, this is okay, or no, this is not okay. You know, we're not taking this next step. That's a parent's job, to protect their child basically from themselves until they reach a developmental stage of maturity. A 5 or 6-year-old cannot make a decision to castrate themselves. They don't know what castration means. They don't have the ability to know medically, you know, that they're going to be left with a 7-year-old penis for the rest of their life. I mean, they cannot there's no informed consent. They cannot understand the long-term implications. I mean, most kids that age can't, you know, you have to work with them to understand. You have to wait so many days until Christmas, you know, or you have so many days until your birthday, that, you know, you have to keep them very aware, right, of these simple concepts. So how are they going to conceptualize that they're changing their body, what their body's going to be as an adult? We've all done this stupid crap, right? When we were kids, got maybe, you know, young adults, maybe gotten a tattoo. Wow, you know, that fire-breathing tiger tattoo right in the center of your chest looks so cool when you were 19. But boy, it's not so cool when you're in your 30s or your 40s, right? It looks pretty bad. So imagine if you were cutting off body parts that you can't get back. Things sound great. Look at all these people. Remember when people were gauging their ears and they would have the great big huge things? Looked so cool in the early 2000s, right? That was going to be cool forever. Now you've got a whole lot of people going to the plastic surgeon who are in their 30s. You know what I mean? Asking the plastic surgeon, can you fix this? Because this looks horrible.
Yeah, we agree on the idea of the chemical castration and I'll just say puberty blockers. But it continues with a couple of other kids that are mentioned in this article. Believe it or not, Tyler, this is little Catherine who wanted to be a boy, revealed herself. She was going to a Sunday school at Presbyterian Church. And they accepted her and were surprised that it took the parents so long to figure it out. That being said, I want to talk about this other kid named Will. And at 4 years old, this kid says to his mom, something went wrong in your belly. I was supposed to be a girl. And she and her husband wheedled Barbie dolls out of Will's hand, 4-year-old Will's hand, because that's what he wanted to play with. And they told him over and over again, you can't wear tutus. And they put all of their strength as parents into trying to stop his behavior. And in response to that, 2 years later, the kid turns 6. And imagine you're the parent of a child who's doing this and you're fighting them tooth and nail and you're saying you're not going to have these things. And at 6 years old, it's unfathomable, he comes out and says, I want to kill myself. No, a 6-year-old saying that doesn't really acknowledge exactly what it is he's saying, but the fact that he's feeling that. So he explained to them even at 6, he goes, I don't want to do karate lessons anymore that you have me doing. I want to decorate my room with the pink pom-pom-ish, pom-pommy looking, it just was very girly. And what it says is the parents went to therapists. So they said, well, we're going to take our kid to a therapist. Maybe that's where you'd want to go. Thinking maybe the kid is just gay. And what ended up happening was that I think the kid was, I don't know the result of this, and I don't want to read it as we're going. I read just a portion of it. But the thing is, these kids, and Steven Crowder, who was discussing this matter, and he's still discussing, I think he did a video on it today, the idea that a lot of the proponents of this use of the puberty blockers is they say that it helps to prevent the high suicide rates in these kids. And there's really no study to show that that's the case. In fact, it could even make it worse for exactly the reasons you said, Sister Sunshine. A boy who says he's a girl young gets chemically castrated and becomes he's an 18-year-old man, let's say 21-year-old man who's figuring out, you know what, maybe I'm just gay, and he's got, as you said, this 7-year-old penis, right? And because of the chemical castration. And I would say in most cases, that's what's happening here. So kids are trying to be, especially in a 2-parent household of a husband and wife, the kid knows from the earliest point, if that's his structure, that marriage is between daddies and mommies. And I don't understand, because mommies like me, let's say it's a little girl, is Caitlin, and yet I'm more like daddy, but I look like mommy. So all these confusions start to happen, and they cannot conceptualize it and won't. But I tend to think exactly like you, first reaction is to say, I think my first reaction, if I was in this instance, would be to say, Caitlin, no, you're a girl. You're biologically a girl. This is the way it is. You might feel like a boy. If you want to wear what are perceived as boys' clothes, that's okay. But, outside of school, but when you start going to school, if you do that in school, your life is going to be hell.
Well, and oftentimes a young child will associate themselves, their behaviorally, with whichever parent they perceive has the power in the relationship. And you'll see that in households where there's an abusive situation, right? Where one parent dominates the other. The child, in order to feel powerful, will start to identify with whichever parent has the power, right? It really is a self-preservation technique. So you also have to wonder, is this child, because they're seeing the war between the parents, or what I'm saying, is there a power imbalance between the parents? Because that can be part of it. Now, as far as raising kids, again, there's limits, and children have to learn that there's limits. And a big part of the problem in our society is way too many people believe they are entitled without any limitations on their behavior or their desires. And it's leading to actual societal problems. So you have a kid, a little boy, and he doesn't want to be a little boy. He thinks he's a little girl. Okay. And also, obviously you take this kid for some therapy, but you say, you know what? We don't have to have your room super boyish, but we're not having girl pink pom-poms either. You can have a nondescript room. You know what I mean? In gender neutral colors. That's a neat and tidy room. You don't have to have the superheroes all over the walls, but you're also not going to have, pink pom-poms and unicorns and glitter and all this crap either. And that's part of life, kid. You know what I mean? You get used to it. Because when you're, again, your kid, you may have a teenager that says, I want to smoke cigarettes. Really? Not in this house, bucko, right? There's just certain things that as a parent, my house, my rules. Because you know what? That child has to follow rules in school. That child, there's culture and societal norms that people need to follow to stay out of jail. Someday when they're working or, whatever, right? There's norms. And what happens when you cater to someone, especially a child, that child is never, ever going to leave that developmental stage. And that's why you see people that are in their 20s that developmentally have the emotional maturity of a 6-year-old, because they've been catered to since they were 6, and they've never had to reach developmental milestones. They've never had to emotionally mature, right? And unfortunately, our culture right now is very focused on the minority. The minority is really directing, what the majority should be thinking or feeling, right? I mean, homosexuals are less than 1% of the population, but yet they're very overrepresented in our media, in our topics of discussion. Now you take transgenderism, the percentage is even smaller, but yet all of a sudden this is captivating, right? The media, and it's making it appear that these people represent a much larger segment of our population than they do. And
Well,
that's
from
driving.
a religious standpoint, if we imagine them as people who are the least of these, though, they're really few. So I think from a religious standpoint, I don't mind the thinking about it. Like it's the first time in any era that you really could see where there is some caring about the things that we didn't care about before that resulted in abuse of gay people, abuse of transsexuals, and all those things I don't need to get into. So for that's very positive that we're coming to a point to say, no, we're not going to do that. And I think just because that it's a new thing, you're right, though, that we've lost the plot and now things are sort of mixing. And what's interesting to me, and I try, and I'm sure if I took some time I could find it, but I was looking for those doctors that are liberal, because this is a liberal conservative issue again, that I wanted to find a doctor who was a proponent of this chemical castration, and at the same time that same doctor who felt that giving a child a toy gun was unhealthy for them because we could develop them into
Right.
serial killers. Now, that's where it becomes interesting to me, because those liberal parents, and I know we could find many of those if we really asked, they understand that there's certain things that you don't want to do for kids that you think could cause them harm. You're not going to give your child, like the child wants to play cowboys and Indians and wants to protect the world and says, maybe I want to be a soldier. You're not going to give your 2 to 4-year-old that says I'm a cowboy or I'm a superhero. You're not going to give him a real gun. We know that. It's not a good idea. And in the same way, that's where I think we've lost the plot, is you're also not going to give a little boy who says, I'm a girl at 4 years old or even 7 years old and say, you know what I'm going to do? Because you said that, here's some injections that are going to change your entire life and stop puberty and stop your development and all those things. And that's eventually, I think we'll find that, and it'll be interesting in Texas what's going to happen, because Ted Cruz, I think, has already proposed it. And I think there's going to be something to lead the way to legislate and make it illegal to do this to kids. It's going to be a really interesting debate, and I hope that it is successful. I really am, and I don't think it'll ever happen in California. I think it's only gonna get worse, and I think we're probably gonna go 30 to 40 to 50 years from now when we're gone, and they're gonna say, "Oh my gosh, what have we done?"
Oh, I predict it's going to happen sooner than that. I predict in about 20 years, when a lot of these kids that are basically little science experiments gain majority, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of mommy dearest books written. And I really, 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 I predict that there's going to be lawsuits against these gender clinics and these doctors by these children as they gain majority. That, if I was, okay, I'll tell you this right now, Rob, you should probably learn everything you can about that area of law, because I predict in about 10 years, you are going to make some serious kachinga representing children whose bodies have been mutilated by so-called professionals.
You might be right. It might be like the next thing, we'll be talking about it in 10 to 15 years in the same way that kids talk about abuse they suffered at the hands of the Catholic Church and Catholic priests.
Mm-hmm.
These new statutes of limitation that are extended for something like this too. It's very possible. It's very sad, and like I said, we've lost the plot. The idea of saying that there are more genders than 2. in order to do that, you have to change definition. You can say there's a big
Right.
spectrum of how people identify, which is totally fine and totally true. You can see it. You can see it even from like from a lesbian perspective. That's why we have words like lipstick lesbian, and we have, pardon the expression, dyke, right? I mean,
Or
you
butch,
have
butch lesbian.
two pictures in your head, and the lipstick lesbian doesn't look like the other one. So there's a reason for that, because there's a spectrum of how people perceive, how their sexuality comes out. But you can't change the definition. There's male identified by having a penis and female by having a vagina. And even far smaller than that from a scientific XXXY. It's
Right.
very, very simple.
Which that's not considered a gender. That's considered a defect. That's a congenital birth defect. That's a mutation. That's not considered an actual gender.
What's that? XXXY?
Yeah, when you have XXY or you have any of these, the intersex.
Oh yeah. I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about XX and XY. Legit. I'm not talking about any added chromosomes, which is exactly.
Yeah.
But there are XX, as probably Catherine here, and the 4-year-old in the story. She's XX, but feels like she's a boy. And there, as James, if it is true, he's XY, but feels like he's a girl. But you can't argue the definition of gender.
Right.
She is a girl who feels that she's a boy. She may in fact turn out to be that way, but it should ultimately be her decision. It's very difficult because they have to go, we talked about, what's her name? Blair, is it? The transgender female. She was a man. We talked about it.
Oh, yeah, that has a
She's
YouTube
conservative. Yeah, and I enjoy her and her perspective, and she has a lot to say about this too. But she had to go through a lot of things in order to become a female. Bye, Daniel. Sorry, I don't know if you said bye or I missed you. She had to go through a lot of effort to do that. And I think that, but even she, in going through that effort, does not support what's happening with 7-year-old James here.
Yeah.
And my hope is that reason will prevail in this regard.
Well, if we start changing science to fit social paradigms, that's a problem. And we've seen that in the past, right? I mean, to take it to its extreme, we saw that in World War II, that certain people were considered subhuman, right? We see that with eugenics. We see that with different twisted, right? The Tuskegee Airmen, for example. We've seen that when social or political issues merge with science, and when science allows itself to be distorted, twisted, or redefined by social issues or political issues, the offspring of that is never healthy. So, this is where I think the medical community is really letting us down. They need to be very clear. We have biologically, we are dimorphic. We have 2 genders, and you have some defects, mutations, but those are not genders. Those are defects in development. So, when we start blurring lines and we start making scientific fact changeable based upon the winds of social belief or what's popular, this is going to go nowhere good. It is going to go nowhere good. And it's we've seen it in the past to justify all kinds of horrible things, right? I mean, I mentioned Mengele earlier. Well, the reason Mengele was able to do what he was able to do to his fellow human beings is because under Nazi science, those weren't human beings. Right? These weren't human beings. So therefore, they were eligible for science or experimentation. Here in the United States, with the Tuskegee Airmen, well, we knew all about syphilis and whatnot, but they decided not to treat it and use these guys as an experiment because culturally and socially in that part of the United States, those people were less human, right, than others. They were less valuable to society than others. And that allowed this human experimentation. I don't see that there's a big difference. And children are our most vulnerable, right? People in society, children are way up there on the vulnerability scale. they don't have agency. They really can't speak for themselves. And we know children are very pliable. Have we learned nothing from the satanic panic of the 80s? When all these children were making claims that their daycare providers were molesting them and murdering animals and having satanic, all kinds of, right? People went to prison. Adults went to prison. And later we find out many of these children now, as young adults, have come back and said, none of it happened. None of it happened. I thought that the police wanted me to say this, or I felt pressured by my parents. I started making up stories, and the more attention I got, I thought I was doing the right thing. I was a child. This sent people to prison. Now we're talking about cutting off healthy body parts. If I brought my child to the doctor, think about it. If you've had a kid that's ever had trouble with their tonsils, they have to go through how many rounds of antibiotics before they'll take the kid's tonsils out? They make a huge deal about cutting out the tonsils, yet with much less guidelines that we're talking about chemically castrating people. I think that's frightening.
Yeah, it's a real tough thing when I forget what they call the law. Like you've already lost the argument, they say, if you invoke Hitler to compare the other side. But
yes, it's rule. I think it's Rule 42 or something like that. It's called.
I understand what it is that you're saying. I mean, it's hard to go to that comparison, but then at the same, because the intention of the people who want to give children puberty blockers is a good intention. It's not, and that's what makes it hard to compare. It's not a bad intention. But that being said, it is like in the same way that the Nazis said Jews were not human, gypsies were not human, black people are not human, in the same way that Europeans or Aryans were. It is the same thing to say to a biological boy, you are not a boy. And then to do something to support that claim. To say that Jews aren't human is just an incorrect statement. In the same way, to say that a boy is not a boy is an incorrect statement. And when we do something that could harm, or in the case of what Hitler did, kill people, we have to do things, I think, to stop that. So it's interesting, the conversation that we mostly agree in the end. We don't agree with how we would handle the children from a psychological perspective, I guess, which is difficult. Well, I just got a private. Daniel, I popped
up a link there to this kid called Edgardo Mortara, and if you look at this photo, this is a female that is not an adult and has undergone breast removal, right? Bilateral mastectomy. And if you look at this person's body, does this look, you know what I mean, aesthetically pleasing? I mean, there's an issue here. There's an issue that, I just don't think a person this young should be able to make those kind of decisions. I just don't.
The difficulty for me, I can't click that. Let me see if I can type it. Maybe I'm not going to stay on too long because my transfer is almost complete.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, because I'm transferring a lot of documents over right now.
Using us just to kill.
Hey, Dagon. It's Bruce.
Oh, where is he? Is he here?
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Oh, Dagon Swamp.
Yeah.
Feline Wolves. Oh, I think he's here too. I'm gonna pop him in.
There you go. There he is.
What's up?
Nice little cover.
Dagon Swamp, are you there? I put you live.
No, I'm a troll.
Uh-oh, you got to put up the troll alert.
Well, that goes without saying, but I'm gonna put this up as we're talking. I already know where you are on the in the conversation. So
Okay.
for those that don't know, the troll, Mr. Dagon Swamp here, he's one of them red hat, make America great again people.
Well, you think I hope nobody's watching this. I don't want to get busted for actually talking or anything. I can't. I'm being pretty quiet.
There aren't many. There aren't many here, so you're mostly okay.
No, it's
Although
okay.
it
I'll be
is on
watching.
my Facebook.
There's only about 30 watching, I think.
Okay.
No, I was.
I don't see you on camera too much, Daniel.
I know. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Good to
I'm
see
here. Well, it's good to see. It's good to see your cup of coffee there, Bruce. Good to see you.
you. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have one actually. I haven't had a cup of coffee in like hours and hours and hours today. I don't know why.
What is that on top of that? I don't drink.
Actually, I was forced to make that cup of coffee. Well, not forced. It was temptation and such. And
Yeah. Well, I drink Coca-Cola.
there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Or
another
ma-
picture.
or
I have
ma-
to admit.
Or Mountain Dew, Sprite. I'll drink anything. As long as it's a soda pop. No
Yeah.
alcohol. Mhm.
Right.
There we go. Now we can see the screen share on this, that's a female to male transition right there. But I mean, take a look at that horrible surgery, and that's for life. You can't ever replace that breast tissue. If this person changes their mind later, they're out of luck.
I mean, and if they want to try to build chest muscle, it would be deformed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as long as they can, if they're going to cut the parts off of one baby, as long as they glue it or tape it or sew it on the other baby, I don't think it should be a big problem.
You think that's what we should do? That would be consolidated. That'd be sort of like how we use, aborted fetuses for vaccinations and stuff. Is that what the
Well,
conservative?
no, I'm thinking, I mean, eventually it could even get to the point where they would just transplant the head to the right body, I think they'd have it worked out.
Interesting. Yeah. No, we could take breasts off teenage girls who want to be boys and then glue them on to boys who want to be girls, teenage boys or young boys. Maybe
or eventually, or eventually everybody could just be virtual and wouldn't really meet in public, and we'd just be looking at their online pictures. And
so maybe this 7-year-old boy, maybe we could glue some breasts onto him and you can try them out for size, put a temporary glue and see, that would help him. In the same way that I went to, I became a certified emergency medical technician to decide whether I wanted to be a doctor or not.
No, it really is a shame, though. It is. I don't know. It's particularly a shame, when it's really like a baby or something, or a young kid, and the parents are deciding what it should be. It kind of like it's an ed. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
it's just, the thing is why are we letting people that we won't let drive, right? they're not allowed to vote. They can't drive. They're not eligible for the draft. They can't buy cigarettes or alcohol, but in certain areas, we let them make really life-changing decisions. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think they have the maturity. And it also points me to why are these kids so sexualized at such a young age to be even concerned about gender and the presentation of their gender, right? I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid that age, and it really was not even an issue. It really wasn't. And now I see kids that the sexualization of our children, the overall culture of being sexual, I think it's affecting these kids at way too young of an age.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think it's the devil.
Well, I don't think I ever gotten the name of the pug, the new pug.
Yes, I was calling her Bun Bun for a while, but I decided to make her official name Mochi.
Moji.
Yeah, so she's Mochi-chan.
Oh, so I was thinking as an emoji, but we've got like something Japanese there. Is that what we're talking?
Yeah, Mochi. The rice. It's
Mochi's not bad. What about just mocha?
mocha.
Mochi is the ice cream balls or whatever, right?
It's rice. It's glutinous rice that's beaten to a pulp, and it's chewy. You see it wrapped around little ice creams, but the mochi is actually the rice product that's around it. You see it like it can be savory or sweet.
So you could fill it with bacon. for Bruce.
Yeah. No, for
And
Robin.
coffee. And
Bacon
coffee
and
grounds.
blood. Oh, gee.
And coffee grounds.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, that's true. Yeah, chocolate. Let me see. Chocolate coffee with coffee grounds and wrapped with bacon and the mocha stuff or whatever on it. That'd be okay.
Our local Starbucks, you can pick up their used coffee grounds to put in your garden, to put in your compost.
Oh, really? They
For
give
real?
them. You know, it's funny. I do that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't go
do
to
it.
Starbucks
I
get
don't,
'em,
I
but
don't drink very much coffee, so but coffee grounds are great for your garden.
yeah, it puts nitrogen in for sure.
Yeah, so I drive over there and pick up their coffee grounds. They put them in a big basket by the door, which I think is
Oh,
cool.
wow. I mean, you
I
can just
didn't
put
know
an
that. So
antenna out there in your yard too, though, and get
So we use a
nitrogen.
Keurig, and like with all the plastic waste we're contributing to society with my Keurig, we could actually open them up and just use the used coffee grounds and put them in the garden in
Yeah.
our plant. Oh,
Yeah, you know the guy that invented the Keurig now says he regrets it due to the environmental pollution that they're creating.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You don't have one. I'm betting you don't have one. The Buddhist in you said I'm not going to have
No,
one.
I do have one actually. Yeah, my husband has one, and but because we really don't drink coffee, so I admit it's very rarely used because we really don't drink a lot of it.
Does it make me a sinner too? Like if I have a Keurig?
Yes.
You could join the club. I use mine every day, sometimes more than once.
Yeah, I use mine like every
Uh-oh.
couple days here and there.
You guys
Sometimes
are
I use it like
climate
4 or 5
criminals.
times in a day.
Yeah, I love the Keurig. It's so easy. And then I was telling Bruce that we got the one where you can create a latte where it foams up your milk.
Oh, I might. You know what? I might use something like that a little more frequently.
Yeah, I mean, what do I do? All I do is I grind my coffee. I flip the little cap open, dump my coffee in there, brew it, empty it, and I do the same thing again.
Yeah, you have the one that you pour your coffee in. Yeah, my daughter has.
Yeah.
I have a Keurig. My daughter uses it.
I had to get that just because, well, you look at price per pound. It depends how much coffee you drink, but price per pound.
It's $20 for a box.
I was going to say per pound. I bet you're like $20-$30 a pound or some insane amount of money.
Yeah, I bought them for my daughter.
Well, they know that since people like myself, they pay ridiculous money for milk, basically like gold at Starbucks, that will near the same by buying.
You're paying for you're paying for the convenience, and the simplicity of it, to use. But I mean, I don't want to waste my time all day on YouTube or making coffee things. And no, I'm picking. I'm being silly.
Smoking
YouTube. No, I did actually change my channel name and remove my videos.
Yeah, I saw that. I felt kind of bad.
Yeah, I just decided I don't really want to, but I decided I'd stay out of it because I think it's just getting worse and worse. And I'm reading comments by Mom and different people there, and I'm like, apparently now they could take me to send me and call the authorities and this and that. And I'm looking.
Oh, sure.
Who's going to call the authority? Mom is saying they're going to call the authorities.
Well, I guess they're saying they could because of the way I treated the guy.
Bull
And
crap.
but
Andy Jack.
Yeah.
Bull crap. What is the United Nations going to come to your house? You're going to, the big blue MRAP is going to pull up in front of your house. The United Nations is going to drag you out and extradite you to England.
People are
that's going to happen.
You know what? That makes me want to have a cup of coffee. Now, Bruce, are you looking at your screen right now? I want to show you something cool.
Oh, let me see what.
You're looking at the screen right now?
Yeah.
StreamYard?
Prepare thyself.
When I want a cup of coffee, or it's going to be coffee talk chat with Rob, here we go. It's going to go over to you.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Tell me how cool that is.
That is cool.
Really.
I need to play with my StreamYard, like I'm getting left in the dust here.
Well, I can help you with this, but it just takes some time. That's the problem. But you're going to need a little bit of software. I think it's because there's a free site that I've gone to that will convert MOV files. You make a video in MOV, and I have to use ping PNG files to do that, to make an animation in. So I use Corel. Corel has a program called. Let me tell you in a sec, in case you want to refer back to this or what I'm using to do this stuff. It's
That
Corel
MOV,
Pro, huh?
that MOV, isn't that like an Apple?
I've got Power Director, so I could probably make the animated video shorts pretty quick.
Yeah, you can. So make the QuickTime MOV files, and it has to have the ability to preserve the transparency. So MP4s don't do that.
Right.
You need to have the MOV Apple files that have a field in their encoding that includes transparency. So if it keeps that, then that's how you can do this. And then I can refer you. The problem with the free site that I know of is they're limited to 100 megabyte files. So if it's over 100 megabytes, you're not going to be able to do it. So she's chomping on your ear. All right. Speaking of, I got to go check mine out. We're setting up for Heathen Halloween because we get a ton of kids there, and we did our front landscaping, and kids like to step on our plants. So we've got to create a fencing with caution tape and stuff around. We're going to do that. It's fun. But we get about 450 kids a year. Don't eat.
Ow. Hey.
Wow.
All the year off,
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of kids, so we got to get candy.
How many hours do you have left? That's tonight, right?
No, Halloween's not until next Thursday.
So
Okay,
are you?
I thought you were that far
the
ahead there
full-size
in
candy?
California. I didn't know. No.
Do you give out the full size candy, or are you a cheapo that only gives out the bite size?
Oh, geez.
You're cheapo because we have to be cheapo. You imagine if we gave out full size candy to 450 kids?
Yeah.
You have to take a loan out or something. I mean, it's like.
It's not cheap. I've seen it at Walmart, man.
Yeah, as it is, it's expensive enough because that's going to be like 3 bags of the Costco candy at, what is it, $30, $40 a pop. So we're going to spend $100 to $120 on candy. If we were doing actual candy bars, it'd be like $1,000 or something.
Yeah, because it's $30 for 30 bars, basically.
Well, then the question is, Sister Sunshine, do you give out the full candy bars?
I don't, but my husband does.
Wow. I'm coming to your house.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm going to go head over there, and then if we go early enough, I can keep coming.
Right. And they do that.
That's right. And if you do it right,
yeah,
you can get enough candy bars then to hand them out at your house, and you'll look like the guy that's giving out the full candy bars.
My neighborhood goes all out, and my neighbors always have like a big haunted house, haunted garage type of thing, and every year it just gets bigger and bigger. And so by default, if my husband's home, he hands out the candy, he gets into it. I'm not into it, but he gets into it. So, because our neighbors have this big haunted house, that leads to a lot of kids, so.
Wow.
But my husband sent me to Costco and says, get the full size. I don't want to be giving out the little ones. And I was like, okay, bro. Okay.
He's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's not like me. There's no way my wife would allow it because she's smart.
I figure it's his money. If he wants to blow it, giving away full size candy bars, then oh well,
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So not to say you're not smart, Sister Sunshine. Sorry, that was a dick.
I hope they don't mind being open, but I usually buy the small ones and cut them in half.
Oh, jeez.
If all our economics was up to me, we would not be able to pay our mortgage. So thank God for my wife.
Right, there you go, Steve.
Because I would have I'd have a Mickey Mantle rookie card, and I'd have all this stuff, and I'd have to carry them with me in our car that's paid for because it'd be the only asset we have left.
You'd have to get a concealed carry permit to make sure nobody stole your Mickey Mantle card.
That's exactly right.
Your life.
Maybe that's an idea. So I'm gonna head out. This was a fun chat.
Yeah, it was.
Organized before, and Sister Sunshine, I'll try and email you the. Maybe it's too big. We'll work out how I'll get you the troll alert video.
Ow. Okay.
Because you're probably going to be able to use it more than me.
Oh, I know, right?
Troll alert.
It's great.
Troll alert?
You got to show Bruce. Run it real quick. Show
Oh,
Bruce.
you haven't seen the troll alert yet, Bruce?
No.
Oh yeah, I've done this just for a few people. Like if somebody came in the chat because I put out the link,
Ow.
Mr. Backstage, whoever that is, I have no idea, or Bruce
Oh,
Almighty
you
or
know
something.
who that is.
Oh, I have no idea. You could pop this up. It says troll alert in the middle because mine puts up a sign that says your mic is muted when it's playing, so I don't know if you were able to see it.
I would just turn it on from the beginning. You know,
Yeah, just like an entire 2 hours of that.
I was gonna say some of my streams, there would be no content but that.
oh, okay, you got to take off. But something I did notice though on the last number of hangouts I did have, I hardly had any troll active. Well, I guess we did have the one a little bit, but not as much.
Did you put the link out there? See, there's a start of a new life. See my CD going over Daniel's face?
Yeah,
So I can
there you go.
advertise.
that's a good one.
Oh wow.
I like it.
Unfortunately, I can't do them all at the same time. So if I do this one,
How much does it cost? Is it a one-time payment, or how much is the StreamYard upgrade?
well, you could do $20. The lowest, I think, Sister Sunshine does it monthly. Is it $20 a month?
Yeah,
Sister
it's something. It's not very much considering how much I use it. I definitely get my money's worth out of it.
Wow.
I
Zoom.
definitely
but-
get my money's worth out of it because I use it. And now they even record your stream and keep the video file for you. They're constantly upgrading, which is what's very cool about it.
Wow.
I hope that there's a lot of things that I could help them with. So that's why I sort of got on the ground floor. I'm probably one of the few professional ones that they have right now.
Ooh.
I invested a little bit more than I was necessarily comfortable with for the idea that I actually would try and get something going.
You know what? Just write it off
Wow.
as a business expense.
Yeah, and that was the plan.
Do your free legal advice and use it as advertising or whatever, and then you can
That's
write it
the
off.
plan. I have so many cool plans you're going to see. I mean, there's a whole thing that I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do the branding, and I'm seeing if I can. This is a preview for you. Then it's interesting. I'm doing Uber driving to and from work
Uh-oh.
with advertisements on there that say free legal advice, and the idea is to set up a YouTube channel where I do free legal advice in the car.
Oh, well, there you go. I want to see a segment on stupid laws, how to beat traffic tickets. Got to have how to beat traffic tickets.
You know what? My brother did that, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, people would definitely tune in for that. Absolutely. You could do how to fight your HOA and win. That would be huge because people where I live, that's like a common, like every day somebody's fighting with the HOA.
Well, that's a video that can't be done though, unfortunately, because you're never going to win.
We'll see, but you could still, you could end it. You could end each segment with, but forget everything I just said because you're never going to win.
You're going to lose. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's really nothing I can
live
do.
in an HOA, and it's all about like just kid gloves.
Yeah. Or you could do like a "Is it legal" segment, and you could come up with like crazy stuff, like I don't know, can you electrify the doorknob on your house to discourage Jehovah's Witnesses? Is it legal?
Well, you know the answer to that. But yeah, no, those are good ideas, and I've set up
Well,
right.
there you have it. He already said it was a good idea, so I'd say, yeah, go for it.
You could say, you could do one like my neighbor's dog barks all night. Can I drug it? Is it legal?
Wait, so were you saying? I mean, if you're going to do it though, should you use like a 12-volt like car battery, or do you want to plug it just right into your wall?
Well, see, you could get detailed like that. At what point is it no
I'm not trying to
legal?
push anything here, but when you had asked about it, you said yeah. So I'm thinking it was approval of doing it.
Oh, you mean, yeah, I meant the idea of doing the videos, not the idea of doing what was suggested. If that's what.
Huh.
Right.
Well, so much for that.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
there's
need to make that clear.
there's a lot of things you could do. My neighbor's parking in front of my, uses my parking place. Can I flatten his tires? Is it legal?
Well, that's where you're supposed to say
right
yeah.
there, ESQ.com is the website already. I even have I had somebody do a logo. I'll show it later, but it's planned. The only thing is, like, in the time that I've done it so far, I haven't been able to get anybody to have particular legal advice and then give me permission, because there's a fine line also, because you don't want people to reveal too much
Right.
and show people if they have a legit case, and that could be used against them, you know.
Right.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's
Yeah, so you'd have to
fine.
do it. Hey, Dale. Yeah, you'd have to do like, you know, that's why I'm saying make it like a really kind of outrageous scenario, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, my chicken, I keep pet chickens and they attacked my neighbor's pigeon. You know, do I have a case? You know, something like that, you know, just, I mean, basic, you know, the basic kind of legal stuff that people really think they know, but they really don't know, you know.
I should have, like, I'm going to make graphics like this, but it's going to be like quick answers,
Yeah.
thumbs down,
Right.
and like that. And then,
Yeah.
like, you know, we can just make it nice and simple.
Yeah, or you could do like a simple like business law, you know. You know, I want to hire a gardener, but I don't want to pay him. You know, is he an independent contractor? You know, or my gardener broke his leg in a gopher hole on my property. But, you know, am I responsible?
These are all good. Actually, I could just, can you wear different disguises, and we'll just have you play the parts, and then I'll pick you up.
Right.
And you know, we'll have
I'll
a
be
beer
the
for
disgruntled
you.
gardener. You know. Yeah, or you know, I'm a renter, but we have roaches. Can I burn the house down? Is it legal?
You're
You're
kicking butt, sister.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I'm going to have a cup of coffee,
There you go.
head on out, and set up for Halloween. So everyone have a great day. It's good to chat with you. Bruce, thanks for coming in. Daniel.
It's fun.
Mochi says bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Say
Nice to meet you.
sayonara.
God bless you all.
All right.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.